ASR, the missing link in psychology. How the annihilatory stress response explains what other theories could not. For over a century, psychology has mapped our defenses, our drives, and our relational patterns. Freud gave us repression, projection, and the unconscious. Klein gave us splitting and the paranoid schizoid position. Fairbairn gave us the internal object world. Bowlby gave us attachment theory. And yet something has always been missing. The mechanism that explains how the psyche survives annihilation itself. What happens at the very edge of psychic survival when the object disappears, when the libidinal thread is cut, when the mind faces symbolic death? This is where the annihilatory stress response, the ASR, steps in. The hidden reflex behind all others. ASR is not a new defense mechanism. It is the ground zero of defense. It is the reflex that powers every other reflex. Where fight, flight, freeze, and fawn operate on the behavioral level, the ASR operates on the existential level. It is the psyche's emergency brace, the invisible scaffolding that holds reality together when the self is about to fragment. Psychology has observed the symptoms for decades: derealization, depersonalization, paranoia, magical thinking, disassociation, but has treated them as disorders, not as evidence of a single underlying process. ASR reframes them as a unified survival strategy. Completing Klein's map. Melanie Klein's paranoid schizoid position, PSB, was the first great attempt to describe annihilatory anxiety. She showed us how the infant survives unbearable terror by splitting the object into good and bad, projecting out the persecutory aspects and clinging to the good. But Klein never named the motor that holds this split in place. This is what the ASR provides, the engine that allows the infant to keep the good and bad apart until integration becomes possible. This insight completes Klein's picture. The paranoid schizoid position is not just a position, it is a state powered by the annihilatory stress response. From infancy to adulthood, the anticipatory shadow reflex. Crucially, ASR does not vanish when we leave infancy. It matures into the anticipatory shadow reflex, a background state of readiness that remains with us for life. In healthy development, this reflex acts as a bridge. It briefly braces the psyche under stress, allowing us to find safety and to return to coherence. But in cases of early trauma or chronic misattunement, the ASR becomes overdeveloped, transforming into a permanent brace. This is where the false self forms, a compensatory shell that stands guard against annihilation, but at the cost of spontaneity and authenticity. In adulthood, when a narcissistic relationship ends or a major attachment bond is broken, the ASR is reactivated in full. The psyche once again braces against annihilation, producing the symptoms that have so often been mistaken for borderline dysregulation or psychosis. Understanding this changes everything. Collapse is not just a breakdown, it is the ASR doing its job. The bizarre dreamlike symptoms are not signs of permanent pathology. They are markers of the bridge holding. Recovery is not about suppressing these symptoms. It's about crossing the bridge safely, metabolizing the effect, and reintegrating the split parts of the self. The clinical revolution. Naming the ASR as psychology's missing link reframes how we treat trauma survivors. No more misdiagnosis. Survivors are not borderline schizoid or psychotic. They are braced. No more pathologizing survival. The psyche is not malfunctioning. It is demonstrating its highest form of intelligence. No more rushing recovery. The bridge must be crossed at the survivor's pace, not dismantled prematurely. A call to the field. If psychology embraces the ASR, we gain a unifying principle, a way to connect developmental theory, trauma research, attachment science, and clinical practice under a single mechanism. The ASR is the through line from cradle to collapse to recovery. It explains why the infant survives separation, why the adult survives betrayal, why integration is possible even after total psychic inversion. The annihilatory stress response is not just another concept. It is the missing link in psychology, the invisible engine that turns theory into lived reality. By naming it, we give survivors language for what they have always felt but could never explain. And we give clinicians a tool to hold collapse with reverence rather than fear. MPIT may have built the map, but the ASR provides the power. It is the reminder that what looks like madness is, in fact, the psyche's final act of loyalty to life. Peace out. Loads of love.